I'm going to talk about my radiation experience today. Just focus solely on my pelvic radiation experience. So, if you're new here, I am cancer-free after battling colorectal cancer. It's been a little over a year now since I've been diagnosed with colorectal cancer. And so the beginning of June 2024, I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer. And now it's it's the beginning of August 2025, and I'm cancer-free. So I started out with ulcerative colitis, had it since I was a teenager. I had UC for over 20 years. Flare-ups, remission throughout those 20 years. And then all of a sudden, I developed colorectal cancer because my colon was so inflamed, and that just breeded cancer cells. In my previous video, I talked about how I got iron infusions, blood transfusions. That was the very start of my cancer treatment. So I was battling anemia. And after I was battling anemia and getting my infusion and transfusions, I started radiation. Radiation started, when was that? Sometime in July, like mid-July, mid-July 2024. I met with my doctor. So radiation lasted 6 weeks straight. Every Monday through Friday, I had to get pelvic radiation. Saturdays and Sundays, on the weekends, I had a break. So Monday through Friday, usually my appointments were midday, like 2:30 or so. And they lasted for about, I would say, an hour each day, each weekday. So my radiation started mid-July and it went to August 21st. So on July 12th, that was a Friday, I believe, 2024, I had to do a run-through of radiation. So I wasn't getting radiation that day, but I had to go into the facility and just sit there on the machine, lie there on the machine and just do a run through. So they lined me up on the machine and they did everything but didn't do the beams of radiation. They just wanted to let me know how it was going to run so everything would be smooth starting that Monday when I was actually going to get real radiation. So in June, I had to go to get tattoos around my pelvic area. Very, very small dots, about 3 of them. Was it 2 or 3? No, it was 3 little tattoos, like the size of a pin dot, like you're like making a period on a page, even smaller than that. So I had to get little tattoos. So when I did lie on the radiation machine, they could line up the beams to those little dots. So every time I went, the radiation would be at the exact same location every time on my body. So I had to get a tattoo on each one of my hips and then a tattoo right on my sacrum, like right before my butt crack starts, pretty much. I gotta see if it's still there, if I can still see them. I'll see you guys later. So yeah, that was an experience. It didn't hurt at all. I didn't feel anything. But after that, after like 2 weeks after that, I actually started radiation. So again, Friday was just a trial run through. And then that Monday, I was actually going to get my real radiation. So it actually started Monday, July 15th, 2024. I actually started radiation. So when my radiation started on that Monday after my trial on Friday, I went from Monday to Friday for 6 weeks straight, and I was in my appointment for about an hour each day on the machine for like 15 minutes. So the radiation experience, like actually on the machine, was very quick. So I usually had my sessions around like 2:30 in the afternoon. And my sister came to every single one of my radiation appointments. We both live in Brooklyn, so we met there and traveled back to Brooklyn together. She was my biggest supporter, and I love her so much. I can't even thank her enough. So when I got there, they recommended that I have a full bladder with my sessions. So having a full bladder helps push your other organs out of the way, especially like your small intestines up out of the radiation site. So that helps your other organs not be lasered and burned by the radiation I was getting in my pelvic area. So having a full bladder, I was able to push my organs up. So right when I got to my appointment, I started chugging water basically. And I tried to have my bladder full every single time. That was very hard to do. I was very uncomfortable on the machine. And I remember one time I was shivering, like shaking, because I had to go to the bathroom so badly. I was like, let's hurry up with this radiation. But like right after I was done on the machine, I would run to the bathroom. But while on the machine, it was pretty quick. I'll show you a clip here. Each time the technicians in there would line me up with the beams from the radiation with my tattoos on my hip and my lower back. So they would like adjust me, and I had to have them move me, and I had to like kind of lay there limp while they just positioned me perfectly and put me in alignment with the beams, the radiation beams. And after that, they would walk out and go into their seated area and close this really thick door, so they won't be harmed by the radiation that was in the room. So I was in there alone. The room wasn't that small, but they would play music and I was comfortable. So in all, being on the machine lasted for about no more than 15 minutes, I would say. And yeah, I was in and out. But each time I had to change, put on a robe, and I had to take off everything from the waist down. So being in that facility, I was in there for no more than an hour at a time. So Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday I had a break, and then Monday through Friday again until August 21st. August 21st was my last radiation day. I rang the bell. And that chapter was closed after that. Well, not really closed. From August 21st until the first day of my chemotherapy appointment, which was September 9th, I believe. I had a 2-week break before my radiation and chemotherapy. And during that time, I was very uncomfortable. My butthole was on fire, especially every time I went to the bathroom. And I was getting fevers. And I remember going to the emergency room one time during that 2-week break because I was just like, this is so painful. Every time I went to the bathroom, I was shaking, and my fever wouldn't go down. But while I was getting radiation, maybe like halfway through, I told my doctor that I started to get what felt like ulcerative colitis. It felt very similar. I didn't know it was more of a radiation side effect, but I was burning. It just felt very uncomfortable on my left side. And I think that's why I didn't really have any major side effects during my radiation experience, because I was on steroids for more than half of it. Like the second half of it, I was on steroids. So I wasn't very uncomfortable at all during my radiation experience until towards the end when I was weaning off steroids. And then I feel like the side effects just slapped me in the face. So yeah, that was a very uncomfortable 2 weeks before chemotherapy. And they actually put me on antibiotics during those 2 weeks because everything down there was pretty much burning, and I was so uncomfortable every time I went to the bathroom. Oh. So I was put on 2 types of antibiotics. One antibiotic I had to take every 8 hours. So I had to set my alarm to wake up at like 3 a.m. to take this antibiotic that was so gross. It tasted so bad. And it was kind of powdery and chalky, and so it would kind of dissolve on my tongue before I could swallow it whole. So there was a lingering taste that was so gross. Even thinking about it, I'm like, damn, that's the nastiest medicine I've ever had in my life. Pretty sure of that. But it did work. So I had to take antibiotics for 10 days. But towards, like around day 7, I started to puke every single day. So from like the 7th day of antibiotics until the 10th day, I was puking every day. I would take the medicine and pretty much puke it up immediately. I don't do well with antibiotics at all. I think it just messes with my healthy bacteria, and I get like this imbalance. And once I took a probiotic after my, when we couldn't figure out like what was going on, I took a probiotic, just one dose, 1 pill, and I was totally fine after that. So I think my gut biome was imbalanced. I think it was the day before my first chemotherapy session. I still had a slight fever, but I wasn't puking. But that first day of chemotherapy, it was, ugh. But I had to do it. Did I miss anything? If I do miss anything, I'll put it on the side over here or something. Okay. So my radiation experience, it wasn't too crazy. It's kind of what I expected. I thought I'd be more uncomfortable during my radiation experience, like actually during the sessions, but that wasn't the case. It was more after, like the very end. So right after that, I had chemotherapy. That was the part I was most afraid of. I knew I was going to be very uncomfortable, and I was totally right. But I will be talking about my chemotherapy experience in my upcoming video, so stay tuned for that one. But thank you for watching this video. Share this with someone who's going through this experience, or share this with someone who is supporting someone who is going through this experience. I just want to build a community where people can come here and not feel alone. And if you have any questions for me, please put them in the comments. You can just say hello in the comments. I would love that as well. Hello. But thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.